soldiers, sailors, and airmen of the Allied Expeditionary Force. You are about to embark upon the great crusade toward which we have striven these many months. The eyes of the world are upon you. The hopes and prayers of liberty-loving people everywhere march with you. In company with our brave allies and brothers in arms on other fronts, you will bring about the destruction of the German war machine, the elimination of Nazi tyranny over the oppressed peoples of Europe, and security for ourselves in a free world. Your task will not be an easy one. Your enemy is well-trained, well-equipped, and battle-hardened. He will fight savagely. But this is the year 1944. Much has happened since the Nazi triumphs of 1940-41. The United Nations have inflicted upon the Germans great defeats in open battle, man to man. Our air offensive has seriously reduced their strength in the air and their capacity to wage war on the ground. Our home fronts have given us an overwhelming superiority in weapons and munitions of war, and placed at our disposal great reserves of trained fighting men. The tide has turned. The free men of the world are marching together to victory. I have full confidence in your courage, devotion to duty, and skill in battle. We will accept nothing less than full victory. Good luck, and let us all beseech the blessing of Almighty God upon this great and noble undertaking.
In the small hours of this morning, May the 7th, 1945, I saw the formal acknowledgement by Germany's present leaders of their country's complete and utter defeat by land, in the air, and at sea. The whole ceremony was carried out on a cold and businesslike basis. If the sense of drama was there, and it was because we carried it in our own hearts, remembering that this meant liberation, freedom from suffering, and spared lives for countless thousands in tortured Europe.
Yesterday morning at 2:41 a.m. at General Eisenhower's headquarters, General Jodl, the representative of the German High Command, and of Grand Admiral Dönitz, the designated head of the German state, signed the act of unconditional surrender of all German land, sea, and air forces in Europe to the Allied expeditionary forces and simultaneously to the Soviet High Command. Hostilities will end officially at 1 minute after midnight tonight, Tuesday, the 8th of May. We may allow ourselves a brief period of rejoicing. Today is Victory in Europe Day. Tomorrow will also be Victory in Europe Day. But let us not forget for a moment the toils and efforts that lie ahead. Japan, with all her treachery and greed, remains unsubdued. The injuries she has inflicted upon Great Britain, the United States, and other countries, and her detestable cruelties call for justice and retribution. We must now devote all our strength and resources to the completion of our tasks, both at home and abroad. Advance, Britannia. Long live the cause of freedom. God save the King.
Paris has known many a gala day, but seldom anything like this. If Mademoiselle is not tall enough, well, she gets a helping arm. Capital of France, liberated by its own people and by a French division, which adds pride to the joy, and the joy is unconfined. Vive la France! The shout rings from every throat, including that of Mademoiselle. Some read the paper jubilantly, and others, just as jubilantly, don't read the paper. Down the fashionable Champs-Élysées, and the Canadian Army Film Unit pictures the arrival of General de Gaulle, head of the French Committee of National Liberation. De Gaulle, symbol of free France, and resurgent Paris cheers to the strains of the Marseillaise.
We're 1946, the design of the UN flag. It was in 1946 when I began my important work as a graphic designer for the United Nations Department of Public Information at Lake Success, New York. I had just returned from World War II service, and my vision of becoming a peacemaker had become a reality. A lifetime contract. My son enrolled in the new UN school kindergarten, new friends from foreign countries, and most of all, I was given important design projects for peace which were distributed throughout the world. My cup overflowed. It was a vitally important mission to introduce an understanding of the UN and its specialized agencies in graphic form as to its organization, structure, and functions. The UN needed a unifying graphic identification program. Practically, every assignment I received was a first. There were no given models to refer to. My early assignments included the preamble, the first Christmas card, the first children's poster, and the first traveling exhibit. The Road to Peace included a history of failed attempts to establish peace and how the UN is designed to overcome failures. This huge exhibit was assigned to both Martin Eistersheimer and myself, and was introduced by Mrs. Roosevelt at the Brooklyn Museum. Martin is still a close friend. There was a great spirit of hope and freedom that permeated the Secretariat, an experience that steadied my life from then on. The most important project I was assigned to was the United Nations flag. It was obvious that the design must express unity. I was familiar with Lincoln's objective in freeing the slaves. He stated very clearly that his main purpose was to maintain the unity of the country. That became my inspiration, and I made several variations on this theme, and they were submitted to Benoit Levy, the director of the Public Information Department. The General Assembly was to meet shortly and was expected to approve a design for the flag. However, several days before the meeting, a request came down from the director's office to create an additional design, incorporating an attached reproduction of a little button which had been floating about the UN Secretariat. It contained a polar projection of the world, surrounded by olive branches. After inquiring into the rationale for the image, I was told that the polar projection of the Earth was the only projection the 52 nations at that time could be located, although their precise location was not indicated. Apparently, the theme of unity I had been working on was abandoned. I did not have time to protest, as I had orders to produce a design in short order. I selected the blue color and centered the button design in alternative white and gold colorations. It was immediately approved by the Assembly. The press descended on our studio to interview the designer. They found the doors locked. With the exception of my co-workers, the world never knew the Betsy Ross of the United Nations. However, I have never claimed but once my role in the design of the flag. As a designer, it was not something I was proud of, nor did I desire the publicity. However, in retrospection, I had been involved with a symbol of world peace. Thus, I feel it important, even at this late date, to share these facts with my UN alumni. It was not long after this that efficiency experts began to snoop around to save costs. They centered in on the enormous printing bills caused by the necessity to translate all design projects as well as print media into the 5 official languages. To counter this, I submitted a savings plan. It consisted of continuing the function of our graphic unit to originate projects as proposed and approved at late success. Then, to have the member countries translate and print each project in their own language on their respective printing plants. This would save millions of dollars, as well as maintaining the integrity of the UN design and identity, a very important factor. It would also generate a united effort involving the member countries. The proposal was turned down, and our small group of graphic designers had their lifetime contracts annulled. Other projects for the United Nations designed by George Van Vliet, The Road to Peace, a traveling exhibit introduced by Mrs. Roosevelt at the Brooklyn Museum of Art, New York, 1947. Designed by David Van Vliet and Martin Echtersheimer. Other assignments included the first UN poster of children of different nationalities around a huge globe, the first UN greeting card, and a long list of graphic communications assigned by Benoit Levy, the head of the UN Department of Public Information.